What is up, everyone? My name is Joseph and welcome to this video where I am going to ask and hopefully help you decide whether or not you should get 99 magic. Now, to do this, we're going to go in depth into the skill itself, figure out how the skill actually works, what the mechanics are, discuss a few ways to train it, and at the end, I'll be giving some advice and opinions on the skill itself. There are timestamps on screen now if you'd like to skip around to different parts of the video, but that is all I have in terms of an intro, so let's get started into how the skill actually works. The magic skill is not only a very unique skill in old school RuneScape, but also possibly one of the most useful in the game, as it not only works as a multi-purpose offensive stat with healing, freezes, and different types of damage mixed into the skill, but also has an incredible amount of utility with teleports, enchants, and pretty much the entire lunar spellbook. Even if you don't train magic directly, you can still get benefits out of it through things like teleport tablets. That being said, many of the utility spells are very straightforward in their use and how they're done. So for this part of the video, we're going to go in depth into the actual offensive part of the skill, because that's where I think the most interesting and unique parts come into play. As a quick disclaimer, the source material for a lot of the information I'll be using will be linked in the description. It's a forum post that outlines a lot of things combat related, a lot of formulas, and a lot of useful numbers, so I definitely suggest checking it out. But that will be a majority of the source material for the content in this section of the video. So there's two real areas of magic. There's the offensive section and there's the defensive. We're going to focus on the offensive first. So when you're looking at an offensive stat in RuneScape, there's really two things that are going on. You're rolling for accuracy and for strength, and I'm going to describe how that works in just a few seconds, but those two things really work together in order to get your damage splat or your damage output for that specific hit. So let's look into the accuracy part of magic. Magic accuracy works very similarly to how other accuracy-based stats work in old school RuneScape, such as attack. So imagine that every time you're attacking, both you and your enemy roll a dice, and whoever rolls higher wins. This means that if you roll higher, and for magic specifically, you won't splash, and if your enemy rolls higher, you will splash your spell. So these dice have numbers ranging from 0 up to your maximum magic accuracy number, while your enemy's dice has numbers ranging from 0 to their maximum defensive number. To get these maximum rolls, we have to do a little bit of math. While you may not be doing these calculations on the fly, or really ever, they are important to know as they'll help you decide what gear to take and what upgrades to make when you're looking to maximize your damage output, especially if you're on a budget. Understanding how this accuracy roll works will help you to decide what to buy next and what to bring to certain activities. So certain bosses, what gear to bring, etc. So to get this maximum roll, the formula is your effective level times the sum of your equipment bonus plus 64. We'll get into the defensive part of this roll in a little bit, but for right now I do want to focus on the offensive rolls. So now that we know the formula, you'll notice that there's two variables that we need to define before we can do just the simple math equation: your effective level and your equipment bonus. For these examples, I'll be using a character with 85 magic using the Mystic Might prayer and mid to high level gear that you see on the screen. The goal of this is not to show the effectiveness of this specific build out, but to show how these numbers are obtained and how you can use them in your own situation. So to get the effective level, we have to do a few things, and this is probably the most complicated part of this calculation. The first thing we need to do is multiply your visible magic level by any prayer bonuses. So this visible magic level includes any potions or if you're using an imbued heart. So we multiply that by the amount of bonus we're getting from prayer. So for Mystic Might, we get 15%. So we add 15% to our visible level, which is 85, and we round it down to the nearest whole number. The next step in a normal accuracy-based calculation is to take into account the attack style bonuses. So for example, if you're using melee and the accurate style of attack, you'll get an invisible +3 attack levels. However, since we're using spells and not specific attack styles, this really doesn't have any use in magic. There are some exceptions. For example, using the Trident does have different attack styles. It has an accurate and a long range, which give +3 and +1 magic levels respectively. However, we're going to focus on mainly casting spells for the purposes of this example. So step number 3 is to add 8 to whatever our current number is. So this number right now for us is 105. The final step is to add any extra accuracy bonuses, so void. If we were using void, we would multiply our number by 1.45 to increase it by 45%. However, we're not using void in this example. So after we go through those 4 steps, we have our effective magic level. And again, for our example, we're at the number 105. So now we need to find our equipment bonus. This is much easier. All we need to do is open up our equipment stats interface and just find the magic bonus number. So now we can plug these variables right into that formula we had before and just do the simple math. So effective level, which for us is 105, times the sum of our equipment bonus, 116 plus 64. And that gives us our maximum roll. I do want to make a quick statement on that 64 number. That's the number that basically keeps you from always splashing, or in melee or ranged, always hitting 0. No matter what your effective level is, if you have an accuracy bonus of negative 65, you will always have a maximum roll of 0, which will mean in Magic's case, you will always splash. So in case you were wondering, that is why you need at least a negative 65 Magic accuracy bonus in order to always splash if you ever looked into AFK splashing on your account to train Magic. So the result of this calculation is our maximum roll. So now the game knows what our maximum roll is, so it can roll our accuracy against our opponent's defenses. And if your accuracy roll wins, then you move on to the damage phase. And if you lose, you splash. But we're going to focus on the positives here. So let's move on to Magic Strength and actually doing some damage with the Magic skill. Magic Strength is one of the unique parts of Magic in terms of a combat skill, being that for most spells, the maximum hit is not determined on your level, like how your maximum hit for melee is determined on your strength level, but is determined on the spell being used. There are exceptions to this rule, such as the Trident, but in general, your maximum hit is built into the spell itself. This means that once you obtain the level to unlock a specific spell, your maximum strength roll for that spell is already at its maximum. This strength roll determines how hard your spell hits, between 0 and the maximum hit for that spell. So once you win an accuracy roll against your opponent, the game rolls between 0 and that max hit to determine how much damage you will deal. This maximum hit is only affected by gear that increases your magic strength or magic damage, not your magic accuracy. So wearing items that increase your accuracy bonus will not affect your damage output at all in terms of spell hits. It'll improve your accuracy, which getting an extra hit in is more DPS, but it will not increase the actual damaging number of your spells. So like I said, accuracy bonus does not matter. However, there are some items that do increase your magic strength or your magic damage. And these items are the Occult Necklace, which increases your maximum hit by 10%, Ancestral Gear, which is 2% per piece, Tormented Bracelet, which is 5% bonus, a Kodai Wand, which is a 15% bonus, a Slayer Helm or Black Mask imbued while on task, which is again 15% bonus, and the Toxic or Normal Staff of the Dead, which is again another 15%. And these do stack. So if you're able to build a gear setup that has multiple of these items, it does stack and you will be able to see that number reflected on the equipment stats interface. In addition to those items, which are more general or will be more commonly used, there are a few other items that situationally increase your damage. So for example, wearing full rims with an Amulet of the Damned, which if you didn't know, increases the effectiveness or changes the effectiveness of your bearer's item sets. So again, for rims, using this entire set, you have a 25% chance to deal 30% bonus damage. You can use the Castle Wars bracelet to do 20% extra damage using magic in Castle Wars. The Smoke Battle Staff, which has a 10% damage increase for using the standard spellbook spells. The Tome of Fire, which gives you a 50% bonus damage for any fire spell. And the Chaos Gauntlets, which just gives you a flat 3 max hits on any bolt spell. So again, these can stack, so you can use a few of these in combination to get a little bit more damage on your strength roll, but those are the items that do actually affect your strength and how high your individual spells will actually hit. So now that we know in general how max hits work for Magic, we need to explain the exception, which is the Trident of the Seas or the Trident of the Swamp. Since this is an item that gets charged and attacks by releasing these charges, there really isn't a specific spell you cast from any of the spell books, meaning there's nothing to base the max hit off of. So in this case, the max hit for the Trident of the Seas or Swamp is based off of your magic level, ranging from 20 at 75 up to 31 when you have 108 magic. So you would have to boost to get to that level, but you can hit up to 31, depending on your magic level and again, what visible boosts you're using. If you are using the Trident of the Swamp variant, it does just increase these numbers by 3, so your maximum hits would range from 23 to 34. Since the only real difference between using a Trident or a normal spell is the actual max hit, strength rolls and strength bonuses still work the same. So using those other items will still increase your maximum hit of using the Trident. However, you are a bit more restricted as you do have to be using the actual Trident item to cast the spell. So you won't be able to use any staffs or wands, restricted to use items such as the occult necklace, ancestral gear, a tormented bracelet, and a slayer helm to increase your damage, as you won't be able to use items such as the Kodai wand or the toxic staff of the dead. But that is really the exception. So now that we have all that under our belts, the only thing you have to know is if you win an accuracy roll, the game will then roll on your strength, ranging from 0 up to whatever your maximum hit is, and whatever number it lands on is the number of damage you will apply to your opponent. So that's really all there is for magic strength and magic accuracy. So we've gone over the offensive part of magic. So now let's take a look at magic defenses. Magic defense is another uniquely calculated stat. Since there's only one stat of magic and you don't have a separate defense stat like you do in Melee, there's a few extra factors that go into calculating your actual magic defense. So to find out what our defense is and what our maximum defense roll is, we have to do another calculation. The calculation actually is very similar to the accuracy calculation in that you need to multiply the sum of your bonuses plus 64 by your effective defense level. So the first thing we need to do is really find our effective magic defense level. To start off in this calculation, we need to grab a number that we've already calculated in this video, which is our effective attack level, because your attack level does play a part into your defense. So we have an effective attack level with this setup of 105. So what we need to do with this number is get 30% of it rounded down to the nearest whole number, which in our case is 31. So our magic attack actually gives us 31 magic defense. To find the remainder of our magic defense, we need to take our visible magic level, which includes any boosts such as potions or imbued heart, multiply it by the prayer modifications again, which in our case would give us 97, like we found before. And then we need to take 70% of this rounded down, giving us 67. So if we add these two numbers together, 31 and 67, we get our effective magic defense. So from these calculations, we can see that our effective attack level is 30% of our effective defensive level. So in this case, having a bit of offense does help with our defense. So now that we have these numbers, all we need to do is grab our equipment bonus for our magic defensive stat, which is 97 with this gear loadout, and just do the same calculation as before. And this will give us our maximum defensive roll. So that's really all there is to magic defense. You find that number and then you and your opponent roll, and if they end up winning, you'll take damage, and if you end up winning, they will splash. So again, these calculations are not something that you're going to be doing really ever, but what I hope I was able to do is explain them in a way that will just help you to keep these numbers in mind while choosing different gear loadouts or when choosing what to bring to specific bosses or activities. But that is really all we have for this section of the video where we go in depth into the magic skill. So now we know what the magic skill is, at least in its offensive state. The utility part of magic, again, is very straightforward. The spells do exactly what they say, such as make plank, makes planks out of your logs. So I don't want to go into that, as this video could just get so much longer explaining each and every one of those, but I hope I was able to give you a good overview of how the offensive part of magic works. So now let's shift focus a little bit and go into a few training methods and how you should actually be training your magic skill. Unlike other skills, magic is incredibly varied when it comes to training the skill itself. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit in the next section of this video on whether or not you should just straight out train the skill, or really what method you should use and how to train it. But what I want to do in this section is go over some commonly used methods and just show the variation in the different ways of training it. I'm not going to be taking you step by step or level by level, because I don't think that's going to be too helpful in the large scope of things, as there's just so many options and so many variables to consider. So what I have on screen is just a table of some different methods that shows you not only the speed, but the GP per hour, and also how much attention you'll need to devote to this method. And as you can see, there's so many different options that really span the whole spectrum, from high attention to low attention, from losing money to making money, from slow to fast. There are so many different things you can do to train this skill. It's just incredibly varied and has some of the most training options, or effective training options, of any skill. So I want to pick out a few of these and just explain them a little bit more in depth and show you why I chose that specific one. Now, there's two that are very similar here, or at least they look similar, but they're very different. And that's bursting maniacal monkeys and bursting necreals or dust devils on a slayer task. So you can see the experience levels differ a little bit, ranging from 190 to 240k for the monkeys and 130 to 150k for the necreals. But the GP per hour is just vastly different. So I included both of these as it shows just a common method used between both of these activities. Both of them include bursting or barraging, depending on your magic level. Both of them require high attention, but due to the specificness of one, i.e. you need a slayer level and need to be on slayer task, and the fact that you'll be banking your drops if you wish to turn a profit or break even, that difference itself not only lowers the XP per hour, but raises the GP per hour. So just one little change in the formula like that, and it's just a completely different method with a completely different outcome. And that's why I think magic training is just so interesting. There's so many different things like this. For example, if you take alching, which is probably a medium attention skill, as you just really need to spam click, and you can probably break even with this. So, depending on the prices and what you decide to alch, between 0 and 1 GP per XP, getting you about 75 to 80,000 experience per hour. But if you add just something else into that, such as stunning an NPC, splashing a stun, so you get your negative 65 accuracy bonus, you get the runes for stunning someone, you safe spot them, and then just between every alch, you cast the stun, you increase your XP per hour by over 100,000. So 175 to 185, 186,000 XP per hour. You increase your GP up to about 2.5 to 3 GP per hour, and the attention requires goes from medium to high. But even just within that specific area of magic, alching, you have variations and you have options. And there's just so much that goes into the skill, and I really don't want to go into the specifics. I did just want to give an overview and just a few different options, and I just wanted to show that there's so much that can be done in this skill, and you should really just find what you enjoy, see if there's a method for that, and just go along with that. But that is all I really have for how to train magic specifically. If you are looking for step-by-step guides, there are many out there, and I'm sure you can find them very easily. But my goal with this section was to kind of give you an idea of how varied and how many different things there are to do in the magic skill. And I did this section specifically in order to lead up into the last section, which is really, should you get 99 magic? So this statement may be a little controversial, and that's fine. This is the part of the video where I wanted to kind of give my personal advice and opinions on the skill itself, and if you should really make the push for 99. So if this is controversial and you disagree, that's perfectly fine, and that's why I structured the last section like I did, just to show that there are so many different things you can do if you are looking to make that push to 99. But my suggestion is that you don't. There really is no purpose to train magic specifically for the purpose of training magic. Since magic is so varied and there are so many activities that go into it and that can be done with it, you'll get magic experience just by playing the game. For example, with Slayer, there's the new Slayer meta is to burst necreals and dust devils if you get them in a task in the Catacombs of Corrent. This gets you incredibly large amounts of experience, and you aren't having to go out of your way to train this skill. In the past, I feel that magic was a skill that people sought after and specifically trained, but right now, it's actually considered a 0-time skill, in that you can get 99 just by playing the game and passively getting XP through different methods, such as bursting necreals. If you're an Iron Man, the same rules apply, maybe even more so, as you'll be using magic effectively much more often than maybe a main account. That being said, I don't think it's a bad thing to specifically train magic. For example, I did it on my account just in order to do certain activities a little bit easier. So I trained up to about 80 to 85 magic so I could burst neck reels without having to have too much of a difficulty with it. But if you are trying to be completely efficient, you are able to get that magic experience just by doing things such as alching while doing agility, casting magic imbue while doing agility, or really any activity. There are so many different other skills that you can squeeze magic into that you can get this experience just by playing the game and just by doing other skills. That being said, there are so many ways that you can train magic if you are looking to specifically get 99, such as if you are a pure, or if you really just like that cape and really want to get the 99, there are plenty of options for you to get that experience and to get that experience quickly and really not get burnt out, because if you get tired of one method, just move right on to another method. There's probably one that has similar experience rates with similar costs associated with it. But that is all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you were able to learn something. If you did enjoy this video, I have 2 others currently on my channel, one for the attack skill and one for the farming skill. I seriously suggest you check out. And if you have any skills you'd like me to go in depth on and explain a little bit more than just the surface level, let me know in the comments and I'll definitely consider it. But that is, again, all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.